Hopefully you can see Fields Mail Order Major Craft Triple Cross fishing rod. This rod here in particular is 10 to 30 gram with a line class of 0.8 to 2.0 PE, and this video is to basically sort of explain to you in and around what that means and this is that and the other. Anyway, so that's quite a nice rod, and that's the braid it wants to use. So if we go to change website now, go to that and just click on that, it should appear in the box again. So this is England Direct, and this is a braid, a 131 suffix braid. It's got 13 strands in it, this one. You usually get 4, 8, and they're now bringing out these ones 12, 13. Obviously the more you got, the more woven and weaving it's got, and the more strength I assume. High performance fibres, improve knot resistance, this is that and the other. So it's like anything else. It's like the more money you pay for something, the better it is. When I do bass fishing, when using braids, my nemesis is wind knots. Knots are never a problem. Breaking strain's never a problem. I use an 8-pound line, 8-pound braid. But wind knots can be the soul destroyer and can actually ruin your session. I actually have a backup reel of mono in my pack when I go bass fishing, just in case I start having problems. So anyway, so that is that. Right, so I've got this chart here by a chap called James's Tackle, and PE line stands for polyurethane. It's just basically a load of polymers and plastic, basically. And I don't know if you can. So I'm just going to move the chart a bit. What we got here? So we got. I'm going to move it up there for a bit. Right. So this chart here. So the PE stuff's come from Japan. That's where the braids for the bass fishing are all being made at the minute, and they're calling it basically your PE ratings relate to diameter, and that's the end of it. And break and strain is a result on that. So let's just take for that rod which we were looking at, that what was it, cross stitch or major craft. Anyway, so the bottom rating for that, the lowest line you can use, they reckon is PE 0.8, right, up to PE 2.0. So PE 0.8 on 8-strand PE. This is like probably sort of an average sort of line rating. So it's £23. But the most important thing related to PE 0.8 is the diameter, which is 0.148 millimeters, recommended for that rod as a minimum. All right. So they've got another one here, 0.140. That's nearly the same as that, and that's £10 with 4-strand PE. All right. So. So it's recommended 0.148 millimeters on the bottom rating there. All right, and that one there's 150. It's all about the same. Up to 2.0 PE, which is 0.235. Up to 8-strand £45 and 4-strand PE at £20. All right, about the same diameter for that rod. So if you're buying that particular rod, you've got to be using some braid, which is recommended on there, so that diameter. And that would, for me, that would be to do with, when you're casting constantly like that, you need to have that kind of braid in there because the rod might be relatively stiff or whatever, and so it goes through a lot of, gets a lot of abrasion and when you're casting and this, that, and the other. So to avoid any line damage and things like that with a lesser braid than 0.148 millimeters, you're running the risk a little bit. So I'd recommend just sticking to what the PE is for that rod. However, you could get some PE less than that. If you can get an 8-strand PE of about, I don't know, £10, 8, 10, 12, 15 pounds, something like that, even lesser diameter, you could incorporate a fluorocarbon leader, maybe a couple of meters, 3 meters, something like that, and have it running through your rod rings, maybe to sort of half of the rod down. So you've got a really thin braid, and you can whack it as hard as you want, and that thin braid won't get any stick off the end tip when it releases out. So you could do something like that where you're not using the same PE which is recommended for the rod. However, if the braid in that recommendation there is exactly what you're happy with using, and it casts out lovely, don't get any wind knots, and you're totally comfy with that, and that's fair enough. But one thing I will say is, at the minute, I use an 8-strand braid, and I actually use 8 pound, and I just use a tiny little bit of shock lead through the eyes, the first few eyes, just to protect it from that initial constant cast out sort of thing. You ain't got to have the lead all the way down around to your rod, because they're only little like 20, 30 gram lures. So what I'm saying is, you ain't got the PE really is based on a diameter for that rod. Like, you generally, we'll just go off this chart now. So there's all different braids here. Yeah, let's go with this one. This is Veal's male. Where am I gone? Down here. So 131. This is quite expensive, 40 quid. And it says here, ultra high-tech braid line, 13 fibre construction, 12 HMPE fibres, and 1 core performance fibre. Super smooth, round profile, consistent strength, which you should get anyway. High knot strength. I've never had a problem with any of my braids with knots. Just got to know what knot to tie so it don't get any slippages. Problems with knots and braid is more to do with if you're tying it around a hook or something. If the hook's quite fat wire, if you don't tie the right knot, that will slide, that will slip. So, I've actually, years ago, I'm talking about 15 years ago when braid first came out, so I lost maybe one fish like that, and then thought, oh fuck, I better do something about it. Long casting, quiet through the rings, good abrasion resistance. My only concern with using a braid, an expensive braid, is that you don't get any wind knots, and it's smooth, and you're really happy with it, and you can just keep casting and retrieving without any hiccups whatsoever. That is the most important thing, and the only way I can say braid I use and I've got on really well is the 8 pound Berkeley Fireline Ultra 8 Carrier, it's called, and I haven't had one wind knot in it, and I've been using it for 2 years, and that's only about $17.99, something like that. So there you go. So this is basically just a video just to sort of explain a bit about PE. There's a bit of sort of I don't know, it spooks people, or it's because braid's becoming more with the bass fish and the lure bass fish, braid's coming more as the stuff to use. And the reason, if you don't know anything about braid, I'll just let you aware, when you're fishing with poppers, especially surface lures, you've got braid on. There's no stretch in it, so basically your lure just behaves a lot better. You can control it more, and you can work it a lot more, and make it splash more, and this, that, and the other, and it's lovely to use versus not. And that's basically it. Anyway, so I hope that cleared up, the PE line, what that's all about. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. It's not as exciting as some of that's been out there fishing, but it's just something I just wanted to clear up. And yeah, okay, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you've got any questions, drop me a line. Alright, I will see you later.